Hello. Thank you so much for joining me today, the National Parents Union. I am Kelly Williams Bollard, and this is the Parents Effect. I'm so excited today. It is such an honor. I have a teacher, and you know what? I want to make sure that I'm doing this correctly. So I'm going to read off her credentials and what she's been doing. Her name is Rebecca Butler. She is a science teacher at Akron Public Schools. She is certified K through 3rd and 4th through 5th and 4th through 9th science. In 2016 through 2017, she was the Teacher of the Year for Buchtel and the top in the district, 2019 and 20. She was the Buchtel Teacher of the Year and top in the 8th. She was top 8 in the district. I am so excited to have her on. She also has a master's in instructional technology. Rebecca, are you there? Hi, turn your mic. Make sure you're on, you're unmuted.
There we go. Hi.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm so happy to have you on. Let's get started. Okay, so you work at Buchtel High School. How long have you been working there?
So this is my 7th year, 10th year teaching overall.
10th year teaching overall. And you've been there 9 out of the 10.
7 years. I taught in Florida for a year, and then I taught, I was a long-term sub, and then I taught on the east side of Cleveland. So.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now tell me something. With all this going on, in the middle of the year, you come back, we're all ready for 2020. We come back, and within a month time, or maybe a month and a half after the new year, bam, we get hit. We are like in our 12th week of this pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
How are you getting along, and how is everything going as far as, connecting with the students?
So in the beginning, it was scary. Like it was freaky, to say the least. Originally, when the governor shut down the schools, we were told that we would be off for 3 weeks. And that kind of threw everyone into a tailspin of, oh my goodness, what's happening? And students were panicking, parents were, it was all over the place. Teachers weren't knowing what to tell students. I kept just telling my students and parents, like, this is what I've heard, this is what I'm being told. I couldn't really calm their fears because I didn't know, because nobody really knew what was happening. And then Akron Public said, we took a week. They said, we're going to give students, or everyone had a week. And then teachers came back, obviously virtually, and we had a week to prepare lessons. And then that 3rd week was when we actually started virtual learning. And in the beginning, it was every bit of a struggle. Students, even now, students are still struggling. But the initial of, oh my goodness, what's happening, not only, outside, but also within their families. Parents lost jobs, family members lost jobs, unemployment wasn't coming in. It was catastrophic in many aspects. And then I think in a lot of ways, we kind of fell into a pattern. Like within the last 3 weeks, I've seen students become a lot more attentive, like on virtual classrooms and things like that. And so, things kind of slowed down. Like we kind of realized that for right now, this was going to be the new norm, and kind of accepted it. And I think stopped fighting against it so much.
Okay. Now I want to ask you, now you're with the 9th graders.
Yes.
Right now, right? Okay. On an emotional level, see, because I'm going to let the audience know that I used to come in your classroom. I used to work with you, and it was, you are the Teacher of the Year every year, as far as I'm concerned. You are so awesome. And so I remember, on an emotional level, so many of our kids, you work with inner city students who deal, like you said, deal with a lot of things that's going on, even with the pandemic going on right now, to top it off with all the other emotional, things that they've got going on at home. A lot of our kids are in foster care. A lot of them do have their parents, but a lot are in foster care, so on an emotional level, I know you're a science teacher. I know that's your expertise and you are awesome at it, but you're also like a caretaker. You're like a social worker. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, there's so many attributes that you bring to our students. And I wanted to first recognize that, I wanted you to know how valued you are in our community. There's a lot of, I may not be able to say that for everyone, and I'm just telling you the truth. You are valued. And imagine you just now been doing this for 10 years. So imagine, as more and more seasoned as you become, you're gonna be, who knows, teacher of the nation.
That would be awesome.
But just tell me, so on an emotional level, with all this going on, did you feel like you had to do any kind of social work? Did you feel like you had to do any kind of, emotional or social work with any of the kids, with this battle that they're having, not being able to come to school and see you?
Oh yeah, there were times when students so I use a Remind app, and it's revolutionized my teaching because it's a safe way. It's an educational app that allows me to connect with students and parents on a safe level. So like, I don't get their phone number, they don't have my phone number. And so it's very protective, and everything is recorded and everything. So nothing can get out of hand. And I have used that for the last 5 years of teaching, but because of being virtual, I've really used that a lot. And so students that typically were always very involved in my classroom, and then all of a sudden I saw this major decrease or them not turning in any assignments, I would reach out to them through text messages. And sometimes it would be, Mrs. Beller, I'm just not in the mood. I can't do it right now. Other times it was, Mrs. Beller, I don't know what's happening. Like, my parents are working full time. Like, one of my students, his mom is a nurse. And as we know, that was an essential worker. So he essentially became the full-time babysitter because daycares were closed. And so not only on top of that, he was at home babysitting, and then on top of that, trying to take care of schoolwork. And so, and many of my students, being teenagers, which I totally understand, would sleep in until noon, 1 o'clock, and then get up and do work at midnight. And so I started getting emails at like 2 and 3 in the morning, and I had to readjust my brain, because immediately my brain goes to, oh my gosh, what's happening? And then, okay, Rebecca, they're not getting up until noon when I'm already moving, and but no, in many aspects, it was working with the parents and the students, and telling the parents it's okay. Like, some parents would text me and be like, my kid hasn't turned in work today. It's okay. Like, their mental health is the most important. Like, we have to protect them, because as hard as it is for me to deal with all this, I can't imagine being a teenager when their friends are their lives, and so just calming them down, letting them know that, even if they get the work in late, or it's not, I would send them feedback constantly with, hey, can you look at this question again? Because obviously, testing isn't going to stop. They're still going to be tested in 10th grade. And so getting that academic, education is very important, but at the same time, I have to know what the priority is. And so allowing them to just talk and share. I did, to lessen the stress of everything, I did one science lesson a week. Like, they had one big assignment, and typically that was a virtual simulation. In my classroom, if I'm not doing labs every other day, I'm bored. And if I'm bored, of course my students are going to be bored. So I did a lot of virtual simulations, and at the end I did a hands-on project of a Rube Goldberg that they were allowed to create, just because I started realizing that my kids were so tired of looking at the screen. But then the other assignment that I did was just a journal activity, just so they had the freedom to talk and share, and just allow them to get their feelings out and not feel like they were being so much graded on it. And that's where I really got to learn some of my students. And the fact that I do work with urban kids, that all of their issues were exacerbated through this because of being on free and reduced lunches, and not getting incomes because of everything that was happening. So
Right. So you
everything.
had limited with food, and they can't, get the food that they needed. And until I know for a while there, we were able to, the school was able to hand out, lunches for a little while there.
Absolutely.
They were able to get some lunch and connect that kind of way. But like you said, the socialization between the students and just each other,
Mhm.
just basically went to nothing. What do you think as far as we're getting ready to go into summer? As a science teacher, what would you tell parents? Because I know that I get a lot of messages. Parents are concerned about, the language arts and science and math and what to do this summer. And I did hear through the grapevine that we may have summer virtual, some summer virtual classes. It's just talk. Last I heard, it was just talk. But what is your advice to parents as far as what they can do with their kids during the summer, especially ninth, 10th grade, and whatever you think
My
for science?
my biggest thing is just experiment. Like, go online. There are so many home experiments that you can do with yeast and warm water. I mean, like, just dive into the simple things, like go for walks, do baking is all chemistry and science, and just have fun.
You remember
Don't
the
make
ice
it.
cream? Okay,
Yes,
wait.
absolutely, make
You
homemade ice cream with rock salt. I mean, that's what my kids do. Yeah, exactly.
That was
um
the best. So whoever is watching it, every year she makes homemade ice cream. If you would walk into that classroom when it's at the end of the day, it's like a total disaster. But let me tell you something. It was one of the funnest things that we ever had to do. And it was hands-on, and you're interacting and you're laughing. And some people's was salty, some was good, some was too runny, some was too icy, but it's awesome because you're just getting together and you're just being involved and engaged with one another. But go ahead. What were you going to say? I had
Oh,
to
yeah,
say
I mean, there are so, like, you can make bouncy balls just from, I mean, it's not, you don't have to go or be a science teacher to do science. Like, you don't have to, like, buy all this high-tech equipment. It's called food science, and there are so many things that you can find online. I mean, ice cream lab is totally something I found online, just for fun for kids to do. But do that type of thing. A lot of I know, like, the different museums are doing virtual tours and things like that. And then reading. So much of our time is spent cutting our reading down to, like, short stories, and students don't get the full effect of reading a full novel. And so, if there are so many different varieties of books that you can read and find, even if you buy it on Kindle or an app, just reading, just spending time. But a lot of times I mean, when everything started happening, I started researching what kids that go to online school do. And a lot of the research says it's typically 4 hours for high school students, and it gets less and less and less because of the amount of screen time. You want to be careful with that. And so high schoolers should not be spending more than 4 hours a day online. And so that's where I was really able to say, okay, how long would it take my students to do the work? And then all the other research says, do things with your kids. Go, on nature walks, like I said before. Bake, do gardening. I mean, this is the perfect time. It's beautiful outside. Or just, that type of thing. I think so much we've gotten so used to everything having to be, like, on the screen and learning. And so much learning happens outside of the classroom. So, watch a history movie, discuss it, talk about things. That's my
yeah.
suggestions.
Yes, 100. I'm right there with you, 100%. And literacy, that's part of literacy. So, if you want your child to be literate and also, really good in reading, then, like you said, start reading and start researching and start looking things up, reading a book. But there was a game that you used to play in the classroom, and it was on the, we had to log in. What was that called? And everybody, okay, so you would have 5 questions, or you would have a
Kahoot?
question. Cahoots, cahoots. Now, how do you spell that for parents? Just in case parents, maybe they never heard of cahoots, because I want you to explain to them what it is, but how do you spell it so they can look it up?
Khoot.
Okay. And tell them, what is cahoots?
Kahoot is a virtual game that you can play there. And it doesn't have to be just educational. Like there are Disney things that you can play, but it's a game that you play with a device, and the questions come up on the screen, and then you log into it with a code, and then like typically in a classroom, we do review games with it. But then if my kids like do above and beyond excellent, we'll play like a fun game or like just something not science. But then you can win, and they chart if the faster you are, and as long as you get the right answer, the more points you get. And then at however many questions are at the end, there's a first place, second place, and third place winner. But you can play, on your computer, you can play on your phone. But it's a lot of fun, and it's very educational. And if you check it, you can even make your own if you want to, and it's free. It's totally free. You don't have to be an educator to have an account. But then once you have an account, then you can actually like change the questions and change things around. You can add videos into it. I've added molecule pictures so that my students had to figure out what the element was. So that, it's endless what you can do with it.
It's endless. Oh my God, I'm glad we had an opportunity to tell the audience about that, because I love that game. I used to love just watching the kids get excited about it and just watching it. And I tried it too. I wasn't the best at it, but I would get some of the answers right. I wasn't that good. And
the other thing too is, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, the other website is PHET, and that's PHET. That is completely free, and that's where I get a lot of my virtual simulations. And it's phenomenal for all grades. Like you can even the K through college, even college professors use it. I have an account so I can get into the teachers, like people can post labs and like worksheets and stuff like that. But even like just with electricity, and there's also a math side too, you can do fractions. So just that type of thing also is a good, and it's free. Again, I'm always looking for free things that my students can jump on, and you don't have to have a special computer or anything for it. That as well.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Thank you so much for that information. Is there any more apps because I didn't know about that one. Is there any more, do you know of right offhand? If not, it's okay.
CK12. So it's C, like the letter C, K, and then -12 is a great reading resource and article resource. There's News ELA, which is great too. It's a lot of current events that students can, if they get an account, they can, and I think that's free. I'm not 100%, so don't quote me on that. But with that, they can actually get in and they can highlight certain things. So like main ideas, but that's also a really good, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but look up just free educational resources and you'll be bogged down with endless things that you can do.
Those things to do. Okay, thank you. Now tell me, this summer, are you working this summer?
I am not. I am actually taking a summer off, which is like the first time in I don't even know how many years since college. Yeah. So
okay. And you well deserved. Whatever you do is well deserved.
Thank you.
You are so awesome. But I want to mention, what do you think that the fall is going to look like? We return back. I think we go back kind of early this year. We go back in August.
Yes. So
okay.
As of right now, we've been told that the schools are back in session. We don't know what that's going to look like, though. I've read a lot of research and a lot of posts. A lot of parents aren't comfortable sending their kids back, which I totally can appreciate and understand. So I don't know. I have heard different things. I've heard it might be like one day you're on, one day you're off type thing. So just they can lower the amount of students and the people in a building at one time. But it's going to be very interesting. I've seen pictures of an Arizona school where they have like cubicles set up, but they're not just like cubicles. They're actually like plastic sheeting so that students so that you're 6 feet away from everybody. And then if a student, does get sick, it's not like they're right on top of you. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens and how.
It is.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking, okay, you have science, you have math, science. You know how many students, but tell the people on average, how many students are in your classroom? Because it's a
Typically,
lot.
I see 150 students around that. I've had upwards of 175 some years. But
It's
yeah.
a lot of students. So how, okay, so now you think, okay, so are they going to have to, create, they're going to have to, invest and get funding for more teachers, more science teachers, because there's no way that all those kids are going to be able to be 6 feet away from each other on a daily basis. It's just impossible. You're the first thing I thought of when they said that. I was like, impossible. Yeah. And our building is new, and I'm like, that's impossible.
Not only that, but there goes group collaboration, because how can you do? I mean, in my labs, I have to have. I mean, if we're doing a fire lab, I can't just have one student doing everything. I have to have multiple. So it's going to be very interesting. Scary, but just we have to trust that
right here,
people are doing the right thing, and I don't know.
And go from there. I'm just thinking, I know a lot of parents are so concerned, and the National Parents Union, we created a Bill of Rights and saying that all the things that we have concerns with, we have done polls, and we're still doing them, just, getting feedback from parents and their concerns, and making sure that the environment is clean, and how the environment will be clean on a daily basis, and what will be my job when I go back. As far as making sure things are clean, and every staff person from custodians all the way up to administration or whatever, so it's definitely an interesting next few months ahead to see what it's going to look like, but
absolutely.
I think it's going to pan out, though. It's going to turn out. And now, before I wrap this up, I just want I want to talk about to my audience. I know I'm not for sure if the we kind of merged. LeBron James Foundation did do a little. They reached out and they wanted the National Parents Union to talk about. It's called Graduate Together 2020. I know we just graduated. Our kids just graduated. So I'm not for sure what the rules and regulations are right now. I'm not for certain. You have to look it up. But I always say this. I try my best to mention this up until the deadline is here. Look it up. People that's viewing, check out Graduate Together. See what the qualifications are. I'm not for sure, Rebecca, if you know about it. But what it is that you get a senior. These are for seniors. These are for seniors that's graduated or graduating. They just make a quick little video. They turn it in to Graduate Together, and they get opportunity to win $5,000. That's a lot of money, and it's not about. If I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct. They get to take that $5,000 and use it as they need. It's not necessarily goes to college. It's not scholarship funding. This is money to you. And so I hope that people are listening in, that they will go to Graduate Together 2020. Check out what you need to do and fill out that form, send in that video if you're a kid and you think you need $5,000, because I know if it was me, I would be filling out that form and sending in some kind of video, because I know I could definitely go through $5,000 very, very fast.
Absolutely.
So I always want to mention that until further notice, until they tell me that is no longer available. I always want to make sure people are aware of that opportunity. And the next thing is, I never want to go with all this going on. I just want to always keep people prayed up. I want to always keep everyone, that watch my show. First of all, I just want to say thank you for coming on and talking with me today, Rebecca. And I also want to thank my audience, because you could be doing a lot of things right now. So a lot of things going on in our world that could, totally turn you that way. And you tune in and you listen to me and interview these wonderful, awesome awesome individuals that's creating happiness in our communities. Again, real quick before I go, I just want to say we need to always keep each other encouraged. We always need to keep each other loved, respect one another. That is what life is all about. It is truly about loving each other, respecting one another, and who we are as individuals. And go from there. Rebecca, is there any last words? Is there anything you want to say to our people that's watching you tonight?
I think the other thing that we have to remember too, I like what you just said, was we have to bear in mind that the majority of people are doing the absolute best that they can. It's something that I have held very dear to me, especially going on right now. And I have to believe that to have hope, that, teachers are doing the very best that they can. Everybody is, because we don't know their backstory. So I completely agree with that. Thank you. I appreciate so much for setting this up, or you setting this up and asking me. I feel very honored. So thank you.
Thank you. So that is all for today. Thank you again. And thank you all for joining me. Everyone have a blessed, safe night. Bye-bye.